If you're looking for all the answers, I still don't have them. But what I do have is a particular set of skills. Skills I've acquired over a very long career. Skills that make me a nightmare for people who mislead, misinform, or misrepresent the sports card industry. So if you don't do that, I'll let it go. But if you do, I'm going to talk about you. Guys, welcome to another episode of the Sports Card Investigator. My name is Andy. I am the aforementioned Sports Card Investigator. And we did it. We hit a great milestone, 1,000 subscribers. I still can't believe it, and I can't thank you guys enough for making our channel what it is today. And I know it's just the beginning. It's very exciting. But thank you again for all you guys for making this happen. In the next few episodes, we are absolutely going to have some fun with our 1,000 subscriber episode spectacular. I'm waiting for YouTube to send me my special 1,000 subscriber secret information for content creators that hit that 1,000 subscriber level. I will be starting a Patreon where you can see my videos before the rest of the public. I'm going to get some really cool Sports Card Investigator merchandise. I will give you my exclusive Sports Card Investigators pick of the week. I'll probably do some razzes as well, some other cool stuff. That's about it, unless I can find out some other ways to capitalize on my newfound fame. I'm kidding, of course, if you guys don't know me by now. But hey, stay tuned for this week's rant, because I will touch on one of those perceived perks from the sports card content creators, and that's going to be a lot of fun. So another video I'm putting together and another PSA story. I promise I am not intentionally scheduling my videos to coincide or correlate with PSA news, although it always seems to happen like that. Just like last time when this happened, all the other content creators rushed out to put out their videos on their take of the situation. And like I said, check them all out. Make your own decisions. I mean, they've got their own theories and hypotheses. But man, PSA dropped a bomb, right? But it wasn't really totally unexpected. They're basically shutting down for an undetermined amount of time. Well, it's determined until July, till they catch up on all their backlog of cards. And all the tiers under Super Express, which is a $300 grade, they have stopped. They said that they received more cards in the past, I guess, 2 or 3 weeks than they did in the past 2 or 3 months. And why did this happen? Well, like I said in a previous episode, PSA raising their prices was the worst kept secret in the industry. So myself, like many others, submitted their cards before the deadline, and boom, instant grading overload, full stop. So what does this mean for us going forward? Time's going to tell. And as I mentioned, a lot of content creators are already putting out their content to tell you exactly what it means. They'll actually even read the letter from PSA to you verbatim, in case you guys are unable to do that on your own. But for us, for me, here is the bottom line. 1, you spend $300 with PSA and get your car graded at the Super Express level. 2, you wait till PSA returns to its other grading tiers and we reevaluate then. Now, one of the things that has been discussed throughout the content creator world is PSA going to raise their prices once those tiers are restored? No idea. Could be. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. What did Yogi Berra once said? When we get to the fork in the road, take it. Number 3, don't grade. Don't grade. Number 4, use another grading company. But if you do go into it with your eyes wide open and do not, take that again. Use another grading company. But if you do go into it with your eyes wide open and do the work to ensure it makes sense to do so. Just because a company is cheaper or flashier, has got better colors or whatever it is, that does not necessarily make it a better option. And speaking of other grading companies, After the announcement that PSA was shutting down for most of their tiers, I got a message from my friend Chris, the sports card PT. Happened to be on April Fool's Day, so I thought maybe it was an April Fool's joke. But SGC tripled their price for a minimum grade from $25 to $75. So you could see the domino effect already taking place. So there you go. My quick and dirty evaluation take on PSA's card situation. So, Panini released Prizm Basketball the other day for the price of $1,995. I checked it and I didn't buy it, but after about 15 minutes, it was made live. It was sold out. Took a little bit longer than normal, but at $2,000 a box, it's sold out pretty fast. And I've been monitoring the Lamelo base Prizm price since it hit eBay, and right now he's selling for about $250, $260. That is about 8 times more than Zion's Prizm started, but we are in a brave new world. On a side note, Anthony Edwards' base Prizm is now about $150. So here's the deal. If you want my thoughts on if you should buy Lamelo or even Anthony Edwards now, hell no. I stand by that video I did on Lamelo Hoops. Just substitute the word Prizm for any time you hear the word hoops. All that logic in that video still stands, but I will make this one caveat. And I really struggled to decide whether or not I would even mention it. But as always, I promised to you guys that I would always give you my thoughts, and then you decide what you want to do. The question that I'm hearing over and over again from these content creators, the influencers, is if you do have a Lamelo Prizm card, a base card, would you send it to PSA for a $300 grade? And I have struggled with this question. Now, I'm talking about Lamelo base, not his parallels, right? Not his more rare cards. So here's the deal, my thoughts on that. His NBA Hoops PSA sold at a high for almost $2,000, PSA 10, and now it's hovering around that $600 amount. So what will his PSA 10 Prizm base go for? Well, if we use that same rationale, it probably is going to start off for about $3,000 or higher, right? So if you're spending $250 on the card, $300 for the grade, we're into it for anywhere between $500 and $550 on how much you're getting that card for. If he grades out as a 10, you're good. You're good to go, but that's the key. It's got to be a 10. Maybe a 9, you break even. I don't know. It's hard to say. But the Lamelo Ball cards that I have been seeing on eBay right now, they're questionable to say the least as far as what grade they would get. Now, I can't inspect the card because obviously it's on eBay. But I will tell you, as far as centering goes on these cards, these Prizm cards, it's not great. It's not great from what I am seeing. You might be looking at one now because the design on these cards is great to see the centering on the front and the back. On the front, you can count the dots. You can look them over really well. On the back, you could actually see how the border, like the blue border is on them, and it'll give you a really, really good idea on if you're under that 60-40 centering, right? And that's not even to mention anything wrong with the corners or surface issues or what have you. So if you're going to gamble, just give yourself the best chance at success and really give those cards a once-over. And if you need to, ask for more pictures. I'm not telling you to buy the card. I'm telling you if you happen to get one, just think about these things before you throw them in for a $300 grade. The payoff could be huge or it could be horrible. It's a gamble, okay? And a $300 grade, at least in the short term, is going to keep the population count down, which is going to work in your favor. It's just if you can get a 10. And I'll be watching that really, really closely as we move forward. So you guys know I always try to draw a parallel between cards and my own career with DEA. and how those two very different worlds connect. I know, it's crazy, right? And you guys, through instant messaging and comments, have always asked me to tell some DEA stories, and who am I to deprive the people what they want? So here you guys go. Here's a DEA story that I will draw into the card world. Kind of weird, kind of strange, but let's give it a shot. So when you're a brand new agent, fresh out of the academy, you do not know what you're doing as far as fighting drug crime. You just don't. I mean, you spend 16 weeks at the DEA Academy, learning role-playing, becoming proficient in firearms, team tactics, defensive driving, law, drug identification, and all the other cool special agent stuff you need to succeed. And when you graduate, you're presented with a badge and a gun, and you're sent on your way, and you think you know what's up in the real world, which could lead yourself down a really troubling path, right? You're filled with piss and vinegar, inexperienced, overconfident, jacked up, and ready to conquer the world. You got the gun on your hip and a badge in your pocket, and look out, world, here I come. So what does DEA do? Well, they assign you a field training agent or mentor. And if you're lucky, you get a good one. If you're not, you don't. But he or she is then tasked with teaching you the ropes, how to do the right thing, keep you out of trouble, and how to be successful. And if you're not, then bad things can happen. So if you're new to the sports card world, unless you're very lucky, you're on your own, babe in the woods, sheep in the middle of a flock, right? And it's up to us to navigate our way through a minefield of influencers and content creators and Discord channels, and you name it, it's out there, right? We have to figure out who's righteous and who is not, filter through the bullshit, and try to find out who is there that has your best interest at heart, and who is actually trying to help. They're out there. They're out there. Sometimes you just have to find them. But I assure you, they are out there. I've mentioned them before. Seek those out who will give you the best advice and then apply it. It'll give you the best chance to success. So back to DEA. So after about 5 years on the job, I got the call. I got every DEA agent's dream. I got called up to the bigs. I got selected for a position in Bogota, Colombia. So I told my wonderful wife, and we were on our way to Bogota. And she was, let's just say, optimistically excited, as were both of our parents. And we got there about 6 months prior to the death of Pablo Escobar. To say the least, it was a very extremely exciting time. And as part of my assignment in Colombia, I would accompany the Colombian National Police, the CNP. And we would go into the jungles of Colombia to search for cocaine labs, search and destroy missions. And people often ask me, they would say, Andy, how would you describe the time that you spent in DEA? And I always would say this, it's kind of a pat answer. A lot of law enforcement guys answer it the same way. And this to me was absolutely true. It's 90% boredom, followed by 10% of sheer terror. And these operational trips that I would go on with the Colombian National Police were adventurous, exciting, and at times freaking scary. And I am not afraid to admit that. It was scary. And what would usually happen, they entailed taking a fixed-wing aircraft to a staging area. We would then board helicopters, and from there the helicopters would take us deep into the heart of the Colombian jungle. So here I am, a city kid from Philadelphia, less than a week in country, but I was ready. I took 6 months of one-on-one Spanish. I'm a freaking DEA agent in Bogota, Colombia. I am ready to conquer the cartels. Let me at them, right? And I think it was Dan Reeves who once was asked about Michael Vick's performance after his first NFL game, specifically how he handled enemy defenses or opposing defenses. And he said it was like he got an A in Spanish and then went to Spain and found out he didn't know anything. I could have not summed up my first experience with the Colombian National Police as we traveled deep into the Colombian jungle any better than that. So here I am, we get into the staging area. Now we're going to board the helicopters and start our adventures. And we are flying deeper and deeper into the jungle. And I look across from me and I see the young police officer sitting across from me on the chopper bench. They all take off their helmets almost as if it was in sync, and they sat on them. And I'm like, what is going on? And then one of the young Colombian National Police officers, who I later found out was given the assignment to keep me out of trouble, basically keep me safe, pointed at his head, his helmet, motioned to take it off and to sit on it. Whatever. So when we landed, I asked why we did that. Why did you tell me to sit on my helmet? And he motioned to me to come back to the chopper, and he showed me a bullet hole in the bench seat that we were sitting on. I'm sure you guys have heard the expression CYA. Well, that's exactly what we were doing. He explained as we fly over the jungle, it got really thick. The canopy was really, really dense. So keep in mind, these helicopters were military gunships equipped with heavy-duty artillery, machine guns, and they were not messing around. So as we would fly over the jungle, the guerrillas who were in the jungle, who we couldn't see, would just shoot up at the chopper. You see what I'm talking about? The reality of the situation set in really fast. And from that point on, I listened from the people who had experience that I yet did not have. And I learned from the very, very best, because unlike sports cards, my life depended on the advice that I was getting from these young, brave Colombian National Police officers. So when it comes to cards, CYA, boys, cover your ass. Listen to everyone and trust no one, not even me. I won't take it personally, I promise. Trust no one until you can verify the information they are giving. They are giving the information, making sure that for you, it is true and correct. And once you vet that information and deem it credible, move forward. And if you deem the information non-credible, bullshit, as I said before, then act on that and disregard it. Simple, right? So there you have the DEA story that correlates with cards more or less, right? Lessons learned. There are some great people in this industry, and they will go out of their ways to help you. They have gone out of their way to help me, and I will go out of my way to help some of you guys. I've already done so, and I love doing it. So don't be afraid to ask the right people. It's just up to you to find them. So before we profile a player that we're going to give you the pros and cons about, you guys could decide if you think he's worth investing in. Let's do a little sports card investigator rant. And remember, these rants are for entertainment purposes only. They are not aimed at any specific person or individual influencer or content provider. If you think they are, they're probably not, or maybe they are, I don't know, but you're paranoid, or maybe you just have a guilty conscience. So with that said, let's go to this week's sports card investigator rant of the week. Now this kind of goes hand in hand with what I was talking to you guys about in the beginning of the episode. I noticed an interesting phenomena with sports card content creators and influencers. Once they hit an arbitrary amount of subscriptions, so over 1,000 for sure, or more, who knows, but it's some magical or mythical number, they seem to feel obligated to share with you how to duplicate their perceived success. You know what I'm talking about, right? You know what I'm going to say? These creators are somehow compelled to teach you how to make your own sports card YouTube channel. I don't know. Maybe it's a special YouTube rule that only those who reach this pinnacle of YouTube success are privy to. There's nothing wrong with that. Some are really good. I'm just asking the question. Besides, it's a rant. So if there is some secret society of YouTube influencers that once you hit a certain number of subs, you get a membership into this club, and as part of the indoctrination, say that 3 times fast, you must do a video on how you can be a sports card YouTube influencer and start your own YouTube channel. I know what you're thinking. Thought the same thing. Hell, Andy, if you could do this with your limited intelligence, how hard can it really be? And you would be absolutely right. So now that I have your interest piqued, you're probably asking yourself, hey Andy, I don't know if you remember this club yet, but how do you start a YouTube content influencer YouTube sports card channel? Well, guess what? You've come to the right place, because I watched a crap load of videos on that exact subject. It's a very complicated process, and there's no way you could do it on your own. So because of that, I had done all the research for you. Now let me fill you in. Don't worry, all the videos I have watched are basically the same. They talk about the same thing over and over. Remember, copycat industry. So I am now going to give you your one-stop shop to fame and fortune. And no, this is in no particular order, but trust me when I tell you, nope, check that, don't trust me. Remember what I said a minute ago? You can also learn. Here we go. Tip number 1, lighting. You need lights so people can see you. One in front, one in the back, one on the side, one under, wherever you position these lights, put them there. Let there be light. In other words, whatever makes you look good, light it up. Lighting. Give me a break. Let me tell you guys something. I could film on the surface of the sun, and it would not make a difference with this mug right here. Not at all. I was going to say maybe a couple shots of bourbon before you watch, but even that's not going to help. Tip number 2, you need something to film with. Well, this is complicated stuff. You need something to film with so you can magically appear or wish your image on to YouTube. I think they say use a camera or a phone. Tip number 3, make sure that magical device you are filming with can record your voice in case you have anything to share. We'll get back to that. Tip number 4, you'll need something to hold your magical device, your camera or phone, as it films you. Do you want me to wait while you process all this information? Moving on. Tip number 5, you need a channel name. So let me get this straight. If we are going to start a YouTube channel, we need a name for it. I don't have anything witty to say about that. I think that tip speaks for itself. So you can find all these videos if you want to get more information about how you too can start a YouTube channel. And there's a lot of them. And they are usually mixed somewhere in between. How to make money selling sports cards, how I made enough money to pay my rent selling sports cards, how I turned sports card side hustle into a full-time job, how much does a YouTuber get paid, how much does YouTube pay me as a sports card channel guy, how much do I get, how to make thousands of dollars flipping sports cards, how do I flip sports cards for profit, how to make money with sports cards, how do I make sports cards a full-time job, how to make money flipping my strategy, well, not my strategy, but how is a good strategy for flipping sports cards so you can make money. You get the idea, right? So after I watched the videos, how you could start your own YouTube channel, I kept coming back to a common theme. One thing was missing. It was the most important tip, and it was omitted from these videos. Not wanting to jump to conclusions, because I am a trained investigator, I wanted to get a neutral party involved to see if I was right, or as Arthur Fonzarelli would say, I was wrong. So I asked the most neutral person I knew and know to watch a few of these videos and tell me and confirm to me if one of the most important, if not the most important thing that should be included in starting a YouTube channel video was indeed missing. So I asked my wife. Now I know what you're thinking. Andy, your wife is not neutral. She is on Team Sports Card Investigator. This would not be a fair trial. The jury is tainted. The judge is on the take. The evidence is missing. There is a mistrial being called. The main witness has disappeared. Let me clue you guys into a little secret. Not only does my wife not know anything about sports cards, but if given the opportunity to prove me wrong, she would jump on it in a hot New York minute. So after some cajoling, she agreed to watch a few of these videos that I thought were representative of the question in hand. And after she was finished watching, I said, okay, my darling, you watched all the videos. Do you believe there is anything missing, any advice omitted from the tips of these videos. She looked at me and said, well, yeah. And I said, great, what would that be? And she said, they tell you the technical stuff, which is great, I guess. But if I wanted to start a YouTube channel, they are missing an important thing. And it's the thing you need to have, in my opinion, if you're going to start any kind of a YouTube or instructional channel. And then she said, well, you know what I'm going to say? And I said, maybe I do and maybe I don't. But this is a highly scientific experiment, so please, baby, please tell me what the content creators for all these sports card influencers have left out. And then she said it. Content. Duh. Her words, not mine. Content. Something every influencer or content creator needs to be successful is good content. How something so important was left out. It was like showing you how to make a McDonald's Big Mac and you left out the secret sauce. 2 all beef patties, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun. I'm missing the secret ingredient. Lights, camera, no action. Darwin Gray said it best. Substance over and content over style and hype any day. A good content creator will educate, engage you, and make you better for watching. Or at least give you something to think about moving forward. And you guys know, I think time is the most precious, the most important thing that we have. So if you guys give me the time, the most I can do is show an effort and give you something worthwhile, as all content creators should strive to do. So that's it. That is this week's Rant of the Week. So last week I got a lot of positive feedback on our show, especially from the segment that Tyler did highlighting Sadiq Bey. I actually forwarded his breakdown to a professional player scout. It's what he does for a living. I'm going to have him on probably the next few episodes, since we did hit our magical 1,000 subscriber. But I sent it to him, and I asked for his feedback, and he was very honest. He said, hey, I'm impressed. And more importantly, that's a very, very accurate breakdown that Tyler did. So yeah, that was really good. So I thought it would be good, because you guys are always, I'm always trying to give you guys information about players, maybe non-rookie players that we talk about. So I thought from time to time it would be cool to get Tyler on, let him talk to you about a player, and it could be his player of the week. Give good information, bad information, and from there you guys can monitor his prices, monitor his play on the court, and see what you guys would like to do. Act on it or don't. Free will. That's what we always talk about, right? So with that, let's bring Tyler on and talk a little bit about his player of the week. Well, as promised, I have Tyler to give us a breakdown on a basketball player from the 2018 class that actually produced some pretty decent guys in that class. Trey, Luka, Jaren Jackson Jr., my favorite player, Marvin Bagley. And I think you're going to shed some light on a guy that maybe is a little bit overlooked. So with that, Tyler, who you got for us?
Yeah, I hear a lot of talk about PSA, BGS, SGC, but what I don't hear a lot about is SGA, and that's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. 6'6", 6'11" wingspan, which allows him to be great on defense. But I think he has the potential to be one of the best point guards in the league in the not so distant future.
Interesting. Kentucky product. Did you do any? Did you look at what Calipari had to say about this young guy?
Yes, it was actually quoted saying that Calipari said he is the one of the hardest workers that he has ever seen.
You have to excuse. Did you hear the dogs barking? I don't know if you heard them or not, but
I did. I was going to say that's one of the other things that you hear a lot about.
Yep, exactly. He's hurt now, right?
Yes, he has plantar fasciitis, which is a foot injury. He should be reevaluated in mid-April. It is something to watch out for, but isn't quite the most serious injury.
We'll have to ask Chris, the sports card PT, if he's got any insight on plantar fasciitis. I've never had it, but I heard some football players. I heard it's a pretty painful thing. So hopefully he'll be able to bounce back. I was looking at his prices for his raw card, and it looks as if that he's not far off his low price from about 3 months ago. His all-time low is $15.50. Now I think he's settled in around $30 for his average price. He got to an all-time high of $67. So you could see from when he started how it went up, and then now he's kind of settled down a little bit. So that's something to take a look at, and that is for his raw card. We could take a quick look at his PSA 10. And that's also, he was at a high of looks like $410. His average price is $227, and he's now to about $212. Of course, he started way down low, and then you can see his constant rise up and the dip again after he was injured. But so tell our viewers a little bit about why you like this guy.
I just think he's so poised and under control at all times. He isn't the most athletic. He's not the quickest, but he always finds ways to score and get to the basket. He does extremely well in the pick and roll, which I think he's learned a lot from when he played with Chris Paul last year. He always finds ways to get to the basket, uses his body. Reminds me a lot of one of the Temple greats, Khalif Wyatt, who kind of has that old style of play, but can score really whenever they want to. One stat that stands out to me is that he is in the 92nd percentile at his position for drawing shooting fouls, which means he's going to score a lot of points if he is drawing a lot of fouls, which obviously we want players when we collect cards or we're going to invest in cards who are going to score a lot of points. And he is also this season shooting 40% on pull-up threes, which is 7% better than last season, which, again, if a player can shoot, has a good handle like he does, able to score, he is going to be a player who's going to put up a lot of good stats. He is right now averaging 23 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 50% from the field, 40% three-point percentage, and 80% free throw percentage. So he's only 23 years old, and if he's averaging that now, I think he has the potential to be a stud in the league and potentially one of the best point guards.
So you're saying his weakness is he's just not as athletic, or he's not as athletic as maybe the premier players, but that doesn't seem to have stopped him as far as being able to score. He's a scorer.
Absolutely, but I actually think that weakness could also somewhat play to his advantage. For example, Ja Morant, a player who is very athletic and depends a lot on athleticism. When I say that, don't get me wrong, if something happened where Ja Morant wasn't able to jump like he could, I'm sure he would figure out ways to score. But at this point, as far as durability goes, a player like Ja Morant, who depends a lot on his athleticism, if he ever has an injury, it's going to take a little bit of time before he can return to as good as he is now. But a player like SGA, he's going to remain good for a long time, where he can remain playing at this level, this same style of play throughout his entire career. So he could have those all-time great numbers just playing this consistent. Like I said, he's 23 years old, over 10 plus more years. So I think that actually could play to his advantage.
Yeah, and for those of you guys who don't know who the Temple great Khalif Wyatt was, his game was always described like an old school NBA guy, where you didn't know how he got to the basket, you didn't know how he scored, but he just had that. He was very, almost looked like he was in slow motion sometimes, but he was very deliberate and always got to the basket. And when you needed him to do something, he would always be there to make that game-winning shot or that unbelievable play. You're like, where did that come from? But he was not fast, but he was quick. And I think one of the things that we have to look at too is the on the court ability as far as being smart, or his acumen on the court. And I think that would definitely count when you're talking about someone like Shai, that he's a smart player.
Absolutely. You said it best. He has a really quick first step, which is why he is able to get to the basket. And he often, as soon as he gets the ball, he has that quick first step. So he's already at an advantage. And he actually leads the league with 25.4 drives per game, which is on pace to set the record since the 2013-2014 season. And as a point of comparison for that, the Portland Trail Blazers, as an entire team, have 31 drives per game, which just shows how much he is able to get to the basket. And this is from Louis Zatzman, come up with this stat.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's one of the things that we always tell our guys is a lot of this stuff, obviously, that you're watching and you're using the information that you're gathering from everywhere, whether it's print or just watching him on watching the games or the beat writers or whatever it is. This is not stuff that you're just making up out of your head and saying, hey, this guy's really good. So it's all indicated from things that you're gathering. And that's what we want to do, is present the best information.
Absolutely. And I also just want to say, pardon my voice. I know it sounds crazy, but I was yelling all week long at basketball camp. So I'm not sick or anything.
You got to motivate those kids any way you can, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. So is there anything else we want to add? We're just waiting for him to get back. He's going to be reevaluated, and we're hoping that maybe he steps back on the court in mid-April.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think he's a player who's already playing at an almost elite level. And if he can keep improving every season like he already is, that he has potential to, like I said, be one of the best point guards in the NBA, and definitely should be someone you keep an eye on as far as just NBA talent goes.
Do you think he's been, what we talked about before a little bit, do you think he has been maybe overlooked a little bit because of the reaction that people have when someone gets hurt? They just kind of fall off the radar, and it looks like, maybe once he starts looking to come back, there might be a bump. Who knows? I mean, we're never going to tell you to buy or not buy, but he may be the victim of the old, he's hurt, maybe time to look at him.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think he was being overlooked before too, just purely based off of his draft class and having so many good players in that class, where a lot of the other players in that class are being overlooked too. But the other thing too is to look at as far as he goes is the Thunder are going to be a good team in the future. They have him, Dort, they have a good base, and they have about like 40 first-round draft picks in the next 10 years. So they're going to be a good team. And if he's going to be one of the players that are the core of it, then I can't see why that wouldn't be a player you'd want to invest your money in.
I mean, that's something that we have to look at too, as he comes back. And when Oklahoma City, obviously, I don't think they're going to be making the playoffs this year. But they do have a very good young core. Like you mentioned, Dort. He's one of those strange players that if you look for his rookie card, it's pretty scarce, because he just wasn't one of those guys that was highly looked at coming out. But he is we could talk about him another day, but he's a defensive genius, this kid. I really like him too. But yeah, so if we're looking at Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is one of these guys that Oklahoma might look to build around, that's even something to look at too. So especially in the offseason, how he's being looked at by the team. Well, Tyler, thank you very much. That was insightful. I look forward to this going forward, where you can highlight a player that you're looking at, and maybe we'll actually go the other way too, but we'll look at a player that maybe is getting a little bit of a hype, but maybe we're just not quite sure why. So we'll have to look at it both ways. But I appreciate it, and I will look forward to the next time.
Absolutely. I enjoyed it. I look forward to doing it again in the future.
Sounds great. We'll talk soon. So that's it for this week's episode. I really hope you enjoyed it. I love doing it. I want to thank you guys again for making us as successful as we are. I think this is our 26th video. We've hit 1,000 subscribers. I can't tell you how happy I am that our word is getting out there and we're going through this journey together. So with that, if you like what you see, hit the subscribe, hit the like. If you don't like what you see, hit that like, hit the subscribe. And until next time, take care.